Imagine a film where the villain tortures the hero, not with physical pain, but with hope.
Right.
Like, just imagine an antagonist who gives you exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Lets you taste freedom, lets you walk right up to the altar of your own salvation.
Okay.
Purely so they can personally rip it away from you at the very last possible second.
That is dark.
It is. And now imagine this absolute masterpiece of psychological terror was created over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Without a single spoken word, only to be almost completely forgotten.
Cinema, the magic vehicle, a comprehensive guide. Journey 1, 1913 to 1950.
Well, I wouldn't say completely forgotten, but
If you're listening to this on your commute or while washing up, pull up a chair to this argument we're about to have, because I am properly buzzing.
Oh, here we go.
I am. I've just finished devouring this massive comprehensive guidebook called Cinema, the Magic Vehicle.
I know you have. You haven't stopped talking about it.
Because it pointed me toward this tiny, 1,550-meter strip of film from 1922.
They're an hour long.
Exactly. But it's a German expressionist picture called Vanina, or, wait, let me get this right. Vanina, or the D, Galgenozeit. Right, got it.
Close enough, I suppose.
And I am telling you, looking at this one obscure silent film reveals absolute massive truths about the entire history of cinema.
Oh, wow. Massive truths.
Yes, it is an absolutely brilliant, proper masterpiece of psychological...
Hold on a second. You cannot be serious.
I am entirely serious.
You're doing it again, mate.
Doing what?
You get your hands on these overly romantic, dusty old film guides, and suddenly every piece of archaic celluloid is a proper masterpiece.
Because they are.
I read the exact same source material you did, and let's be brutally honest here, Vanina is a bit overhyped.
Overhyped? Are you joking?
No, I'm not. Actually, having gone through the plot breakdowns and the contemporary reviews, it sounds rather dull.
Dull.
Yes, dull. You're looking at this through a lens that is heavily tinted with nostalgia.
It isn't nostalgia. I wasn't even alive in 1922.
Nostalgia for an era you didn't even live through is the worst kind, mate.
Okay, let's unpack this for you, the listener, right now. You are going to have to settle this argument for us, because we are miles apart on this.
We really are.
We are looking at this 1922 silent film directed by Arthur von Gerlach.
Right.
And the mission today is to figure out, is this film a masterclass in psychological terror that modern cinema has completely forgotten how to execute? Or is it, as my incredibly cynical friend here suggests, just a dusty melodramatic relic?
I wouldn't say incredibly cynical, just immune to pretentious romanticism.
Right, well, let's start with the book that kicked this whole thing off then.
Let's.
The source of our massive disagreement today is this text, Cinema, the Magic Vehicle Journey, 1913 to 1950.
A rather grand title, I have to say.
But it delivers. I mean, the core premise of this book is that it promises to transport film buffs through the entire history of cinema.
From its early beginnings right up to 1981.
Yeah, exactly when the book was published. And it specifically highlights these uncharted cinematic treasures.
Uncharted is a strong word for commercially released films.
You know what I mean? Especially silent film masterpieces that manage to evoke incredibly strong emotions without a single spoken word.
Yeah.
And the book positions these films as the ultimate antidote to modern cinema.
Which is where I completely get off the train.
But it suggests modern cinema is largely suffering from a lack of original visual storytelling.
Wait, I have to stop you there.
What?
This whole modern cinema is creatively bankrupt, and we must look to the past for salvation argument is absolute rubbish.
How is it rubbish? The book is spot on.
It's not spot on, it's just whining.
No, it emphasizes how we need to understand the political and social and cultural events that influence filmmakers of the past.
Sure, context is fine.
It's saying that if you are experiencing modern cinematic fatigue...
Which I'm not, by the way.
Well, let's face it, who isn't feeling a bit fatigued by the 10th superhero reboot where a CGI city gets leveled?
Speak for yourself. I quite enjoy a good CGI city leveling.
You would, but the book says you need to look backward to cure it. You need to see how these works reflected the actual raw spirit of their period.
The spirit of the period, sure.
We're talking about 1922 Germany here, the Weimar Republic.
Right, an incredibly unstable time.
Exactly. This is a country traumatized by the First World War, dealing with hyperinflation.
Right.
Shattered national pride, political assassinations, left, right, and center.
But he's chaotic, yes.
The art they were making wasn't just disposable entertainment. It was a desperate processing of national trauma.
I don't disagree with the historical context at all. The Weimar Republic was a fascinating, chaotic crucible for art.
Thank you.
But what's questionable here is the assumption that just because something is old and culturally significant, it's automatically a hidden gem of entertainment.
It is a gem.
Is an audience today an audience raised on incredibly complex narrative structures, nonlinear storytelling, and immersive spatial sound design?
Yeah.
Let me finish. Are they really going to find uncharted cinematic treasures in a silent film from 1922? The book promises a fascinating time travel experience across genres, but it relies heavily on this sweeping, almost naive romanticism.
It isn't naive to appreciate visual mastery.
The idea that modern cinema is completely creatively bankrupt is just lazy criticism, mate.
It's not lazy.
It ignores the incredible innovation happening right now in international cinema and independent filmmaking.
But you're missing the point of what those early innovations actually achieved.
Am I?
Yes. The book isn't saying modern films are inherently bad. It's saying we've lost a specific type of magic.
Ah, the magic vehicle.
Exactly. The magic of evoking grand sweeping emotions purely through visual composition.
Right, without dialogue.
Without leaning on snappy dialogue to do all the heavy lifting. And to prove you wrong, I'm pivoting straight to the specific case study the book highlights.
Fine. Let's look at it, but prepare to be disappointed.
Not a chance. Here are the facts for the listener.
Lay them out.
We are looking at a film produced in Germany by Projections AG Union.
A major player at the time.
The script was written by Karl Mayer, and it's based on a French short story called Vanina, Vanini by Stendhal.
Right.
So we've got a classic 19th century French story adapted by a 20th century German expressionist screenwriter directed by von Gerlach.
A solid pedigree on paper, I'll admit. Karl Mayer is no lightweight.
Exactly.
For those who might not know the name, Karl Mayer was arguably the most important screenwriter of the German expressionist movement.
He was brilliant.
He co-wrote The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which essentially kick-started the whole visual style of twisted, nightmarish cinema.
He had an absolute brilliant mind for psychological decay.
He did, yes.
So he takes this Stendhal story and sets it in this mythical dark version of Turin.
A very gloomy turn from the sounds of it.
So gloomy. And the city is ruled by this cruel, physically crippled governor who absolutely ruthlessly suppresses any manifestation of popular discontent.
Right.
He is a tyrant, plain and simple. He rules by fear.
Standard expressionist villain.
Now, this governor has a daughter, Vanina. And in classic dramatic fashion, Vanina is desperately in love with Octavio.
And let me guess, Octavio is a loyal, subservient servant to the governor.
Better. Octavio is the leader of the political rebels trying to overthrow the governor.
Of course he is.
It's high drama. So here's how the narrative actually unfolds.
I'm listening.
The governor violently crushes the rebellion and throws Octavio into a dungeon.
Makes sense politically.
Right, and Vanina is absolutely devastated. She begs, she pleads, she makes these desperate, agonizing entreaties to her father to release the man she loves.
Standard melodrama.
But surprisingly, breaking his usual tyrannical character, the governor relents.
Oh, does he?
He releases Octavio and actually seems to agree to let them get married.
Right. And here comes the twist that absolutely ruins the credibility of the entire film for me.
It doesn't ruin it, it elevates it.
No, it completely derails it.
Listen, so they are at the wedding. The lovers are standing there. They think they've won.
Right.
The audience thinks they've won. But during the wedding ceremony itself, at the very altar, the governor turns around, has his guards throw Octavio straight back into prison and sentences him to death.
Are you joking?
Oh.
I mean, seriously, this narrative structure is an absolute shambles.
How is it a shambles?
Think about it logically. He frees the highly dangerous leader of a violent rebellion, agrees to let him marry his only daughter, just to arrest him again at the altar in front of a priest.
Yes.
It's bloody soap opera nonsense.
It is not nonsense. It is psychological.
It defies all logical statecraft and basic human psychology.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. If you want to kill a rebel, you execute him in the town square. You don't throw him a lavish wedding just to say gotcha.
You are missing the entire point.
It's padding. It's just there to drag the runtime out to 1,550 meters.
Hear me out. Hear me out. You are looking at it like a logistics manager trying to run a country efficiently.
I'm looking at it like someone who expects a plot to make sense.
You're not looking at it like an audience member analyzing a psychological thriller. Think about what this does psychologically to the characters.
It makes them look stupid.
No. If the governor just arrested him and killed him, it's a standard Tuesday in a dictatorship.
A brutal Tuesday, but yes.
It's brutal, but it's expected. But by freeing him, by letting Vanina believe she has saved him, by letting them walk right up to the altar and taste a happy future,
Right.
is the psychological torture of hope.
Torture of hope.
Yes. It's about giving them the one thing they want, the one thing they've bled for, just so he can personally crush it.
It sounds exhausting.
It's an ultimate power move.
Yeah.
Compare the governor's erratic cruelty to the psychological games played by modern-day autocrats.
Oh, come.
Or even mob bosses in prestige TV. You see this trope all the time now because it works.
A mob boss is slightly different than a 19th century Italian governor.
It's the exact same dynamic. It's the mob boss who invites his underling to a lavish dinner, praises him, tells him he's like family.
Pours him a glass of $1,000 wine. Yeah, I know the scene.
Exactly. And then has him shot in the back of the head in the parking lot.
Sure.
It's not about logistical efficiency. It's about demonstrating absolute terrifying control over someone's reality.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of the text and specifically to the Weimar era we discussed, I suppose I can concede a minor point on the thematic intention.
Thank you. A minor point is a start.
The text explicitly states that the film is a study of sadistic tyranny caused by feelings of inferiority.
Exactly.
And in post-WWI Germany, the populace was acutely aware of how weak men could use absolute power to inflict senseless cruelty.
See, spot on.
I didn't say the narrative execution was good. I said the underlying intention is clear.
I'll take it.
The tyrant is an essential recurring figure in German expressionist cinema. The source text draws a direct parallel to The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Which Karl Mayer also wrote.
Exactly. In that film, for the listener who hasn't seen it, you have the respectable director of a mental asylum who uses hypnosis to murderously manipulate a somnambulist.
A sleepwalker named Caesar.
Right. The authority figure is secretly the monster.
Yes. It's the exact same DNA.
So in Vanina, even though we are dealing with a French short story set in early 19th century Italy, Karl Mayer's adaptation strips away all the French romance.
We're completely gone.
And it relies entirely on classic German characters, situations, and preoccupations of the 1920s.
It really does.
It's an analysis of the state of mind resulting from rule by terror, and the governor's physical state being described specifically as crippled is a classic expressionist trope.
Right. Explain that a bit more for the listener, because that physical mirroring is absolutely crucial.
Well, in expressionism, the internal psychology of a character or a society is externalized.
Right. Pushed out into the real world.
It's pushed out into the physical world. A twisted mind lives in a house with twisted, jagged windows.
Yeah, like the sets in Caligari.
Exactly. In this case, the governor's outer physical deformity physically mirrors his inner psychological twistedness. His profound feelings of inferiority regarding his physical state are what drive his sadistic need to not just execute the strong, healthy rebel,
but to mentally break them first.
to mentally break his own daughter and the rebel leader first. He needs them to feel as powerless as he does.
Exactly. It's a profound psychological portrait. It's not just bad guy does bad thing.
I suppose it has layers.
It's an exploration of the pathology of a dictator. And they needed absolute heavy hitters to sell this on screen.
True.
Which brings us to the cast. Because you don't pull off that level of nuanced psychological warfare with amateur actors flailing their arms about.
No, you certainly don't.
They brought in titans in the era.
Let's hear the roll call then, because acting in 1922 is a very different beast than acting today.
Oh, absolutely. So we have the Danish actress Asta Nielsen playing Vanina.
Right, Austin Nielsen.
Now, the book specifically calls her one of the greatest tragedy queens of the early 20th century.
Tragedy queen is an interesting phrase to use.
She was a leading star of the hugely influential Danish cinema from around 1910 before she crossed over and became a massive star in Germany.
Yeah, Danish cinema was huge back then.
Yeah, and the text says her acting is convincing and astonishingly modern, conveying this incredible mood of despair and hopelessness.
See, tragedy queen implies a certain theatricality to me, a grandness to the suffering.
Well, it was silent film.
Right, but in the early 1910s and 20s, a lot of silent film acting was still rooted in 19th century stage traditions.
Pantomime stuff.
Pantomimes, exactly. Broad gestures, so the person in the back row of the theater could understand you were sad. Hands on the forehead, that sort of thing.
But the book explicitly says she was different. It says astonishingly modern.
Astonishingly modern for 1922, maybe.
Asta Nielsen was famous for her face. She didn't have to wave her arms around. She could convey absolute devastation. just with the darkening of her eyes and subtle shifts in her expression.
I'll have to take your word for it.
She grounded the melodrama. And she is backed up by an incredible ensemble. We've got Paul Hartman as Octavio, the rebel leader.
Okay.
And crucially, we have Paul Wegener playing the terrifying governor.
Now, Paul Wegener is a genuinely fascinating piece of casting.
He's a complete legend. He was in The Student of Prague and The Golem.
Right. For context, The Golem is one of the foundational texts of horror cinema.
Absolutely terrifying film.
Wegener played a massive, lumbering creature made of clay brought to life to protect the Jewish community of Prague.
He was massive.
He had this incredible, imposing, heavy physical presence on screen.
Yeah.
So casting him, the man who played an unstoppable clay monster, as a crippled, sadistic governor, is a brilliant subversion of his physicality.
Yes. You feel the threat radiating off him even when he's sitting perfectly still.
It creates a nice tension.
Plus, we have Victor Blum as the governor's assistant, Bernhard Goetzke as the priest, and Raoul Lange as the executioner.
A priest and an executioner on the main cast list. How very subtle.
It's expressionism, mate. It's not meant to be subtle. It's meant to be loud. The whole world is screaming.
It sounds like it.
And this leads to the climax, which is where the film just goes completely mental in the best possible way.
Oh, here you go. The defense of the indefensible third act.
It is brilliant. So Octavio is sentenced to death at the altar.
Still stupid twist, but fine.
Vanina, who has been begging and pleading this whole time, completely snaps.
The tragedy queen activates.
The tragedy queen drops the subservience and physically challenges her father.
Oh, she fights him.
She actually hits him. She forces him to pardon her lover. She steals the keys, or the pardon frees Octavio from his dungeon cell, and they make a desperate, frantic attempt to escape from the sprawling palace.
And they almost make it.
They almost make it. They run through this labyrinth, and they are finally captured when only one single door separates them from the outside world and freedom.
One door. What a coincidence.
One door. And when the guards grab them, the governor doesn't just order them back to the cells.
What does he do?
He rolls up, looks at them, trapped inches from salvation, and he roars with laughter.
Typical villain stuff.
He stands there laughing maniacally and reads out the death sentence, which fulfills the macabre promise of the film's original title, Vanina oder die Galgenhochzeit.
Vanina, or A Wedding Under the Gallows.
Exactly.
And then comes the absolute worst part of the script.
No.
The moment that shatters any illusion of modern acting or psychological depth.
It's the defining moment of the film.
Oh, please.
Octavio is doomed. The governor is laughing in her face, and Vanina, realizing she is utterly defeated and unable to live without her lover, literally just drops dead.
Right.
Right there on the floor.
That's rubbish, mate. Complete and utter rubbish.
It is properly genius.
It is cheap theatrics.
How was it cheap theatrics?
You're telling me this woman who just physically assaulted a heavily armed tyrannical governor?
Yeah.
Broke a grown man out of a fortified dungeon and navigated a massive palace escape while running for her life.
Exactly. She's exhausted.
Suddenly just runs out of steam size and drops dead on the floor because she's sad.
It's not because she's sad.
It's incredibly dodgy in places. It breaks all emotional realism.
No, it doesn't.
It's a convenient, melodramatic way for Carl Mayer to end the script without having to write a complex, nuanced resolution.
You're looking at it through a modern, clinical, medical lens.
I'm looking at it through the lens of common sense. People don't just drop dead from a bad mood.
You're demanding an autopsy report for a metaphor.
A metaphor shouldn't involve spontaneous death.
You have to view it through the emotional logic of the film. Look, a text explicitly says the film is an analysis of the state of mind resulting from rule by terror.
And dying on the spot is a state of mind.
Vanina doesn't die from a sudden medically inexplicable heart attack. She dies from the absolute crushing weight of hopelessness.
Oh, that is such a stretch.
It's not a stretch. The governor didn't just physically trap them at the last door. His laughter mathematically proved to her that hope against an authoritarian state is impossible.
Mathematically proved.
Yes. The laugh is a weapon. The laugh is what kills her. It's a devastating, poetic portrait of authoritarianism.
It's a convenient feint masquerading as high tragedy.
You're being intentionally obtuse.
I'm sorry, but an audience today isn't going to see a devastating, poetic portrait of authoritarianism.
Why not?
They're going to see an actor aggressively swooning onto a 1920s soundstage floor and roll their eyes.
Well, the text completely disagrees with you. It calls the acting astonishingly modern.
The text is wrong.
And it resonated deeply with audiences in 1922 who understood exactly what it felt like to have your spirit suddenly violently extinguished by forces beyond your control.
I'm sure the 1922 audience was very polite about it.
But look, even if you won't give me the plot, which you should,
I won't.
you absolutely have to give me the visual pacing.
Oh, the visual pacing now.
Yes, because this is where von Gerlach proves his absolute genius as a director,
Right.
and where this film becomes an undeniable masterclass in cinematic technique.
I will admit, looking at the historical analysis, the text does heavily highlight the visual style as the most striking and successful aspect of the film.
Yes. The art director Walter Ryman and the photographer Frederick Fugelsang created something incredible here.
Ryman and Fugelsang, yes.
The book points out that the true power of the film is based in great part on the stark contrast between static and dynamic scenes.
Okay, that is interesting structurally.
You have this violent kinetic movement in the scenes of the rebellion happening outside in the streets.
The dynamic scenes.
Right. But inside the palace, the seat of the tyrant's power, it is entirely characterized by dead silence.
Which, if we pause and think about it, is a fascinating conceptual challenge to convey in a medium that was already completely silent.
Exactly.
Every film in 1922 was technically silent.
Right. No synchronized sound.
So how do you film dead silence in a silent movie?
Right. You can't just turn the volume down.
You can't just drop the audio track. You have to do it entirely through visual composition, lighting, and pacing.
Exactly. How do you think they achieved that?
Well, in 1922, they were using orthochromatic film stock.
Oh, right. The orthochromatic stock.
It wasn't like modern film. It was highly insensitive to certain colors, especially reds, which registered as pitch black.
Right. So the reds just look like voids on screen.
Exactly. To get an exposure, they had to blast the sets with massive, incredibly bright carbon arc lamps.
Those things must have been blinding.
They were, and hot. But by carefully controlling those lights, you create these harsh, impenetrable black shadows.
The expressionist shadows.
So when the text says dead silence, it likely means visually suffocating.
That makes total sense.
The architecture of the palace itself, heavy, imposing, dwarfing the actors, creates a visual vacuum. The space feels dead.
That is brilliant context. You feel the oppression in the architecture and the literal lack of kinetic movement inside those walls.
Exactly.
But here's where the editing gets really interesting.
Oh, on?
I want to talk about the labyrinth sequence, the climax. The lovers' frantic escape from what the book dramatically calls the Fount of Evil.
The Fount of Evil being the palace naturally.
Right, so let's look at the broader cinematic landscape at the time. Think about how D.W. Griffith in America, or the early Soviet directors who were experimenting with montage, handled tension.
Griffith and the Soviets, sure.
The book points this out perfectly. When they wanted to build dramatic tension, when the heroes were running out of time, what did they do?
They sped things up.
Exactly. They increased the pace of the editing. Faster cuts, cross-cutting between the heroes and the villains, building this frenetic, heart-pounding, accelerating rhythm.
It's the standard grammar of the cinematic thriller.
It is.
We still use the exact same technique today. Look at Christopher Nolan or Paul Greengrass.
The Bourne movies, yeah.
The closer the ticking clock gets to zero, the faster the cuts, the shots get shorter, a second long, half a second long.
Right.
It creates a visceral physiological anxiety in the viewer.
Exactly. Griffith pioneered it with films like Intolerance, and the Soviets perfected it with montage theory.
Yeah.
You know, smashing two disparate images together rapidly to create a new idea in the viewer's mind.
Basic film school stuff, yes.
But von Gerlach, sitting there in Germany in 1922, editing Vanina, did the exact opposite.
He did.
He achieved a sense of overwhelming, suffocating terror by deliberately slowing down the pace of their flight through the endless labyrinth of the palace.
Wait, what?
It is absolutely brilliant. He radically subverts the audience's expectation of how an escape should feel.
You're kidding.
No. You want them to run, you want the camera to move fast, you want quick cuts to show progress. But the film just agonizingly drags it out in these long, slow takes.
Hold on a second. You cannot be serious.
I am. It creates overwhelming terror.
It creates overwhelming boredom.
No, it doesn't.
You are telling me that during the absolute climax of the film, the grand life or death escape sequence, the director deliberately decides to slow the pacing down to a crawl.
Yes.
And the book genuinely calls this achieving a sense of overwhelming terror.
It does, and it's right.
That is not a stylistic subversion. That is the book making profound excuses for clunky, primitive editing.
You are completely missing the psychological effect.
No, you're missing the physical reality of the medium in the 1920s.
What physical reality?
Slowing down an escape sequence doesn't magically create terror. it completely kills the forward momentum.
No, it transforms the momentum.
It makes the film rather dull. If they are desperately running for their lives from armed guards, but the editing makes it feel like they are taking a casual extended stroll through a museum of expressionist art, that's not a masterstroke.
It's not a stroll.
That's a failure of pacing.
It's mental that you can't see this.
It's mental that you defend it.
Have you ever had a nightmare where you are trying to run away from a monster, but your legs feel like they are made of lead?
Yes.
Where you're pushing as hard as you can, but you're moving through molasses?
Yes, but I usually wake up from those nightmares because they are tedious and frustrating.
It's not tedious, it's suffocating.
Yeah.
That frustration is exactly what the tyrant's rule feels like.
Oh, please.
The palace is an endless, inescapable labyrinth. By deliberately slowing the edit down, holding on these long, agonizing shots where the characters are running, but barely seem to be making progress across the massive sets.
It's just bad pacing.
Von Gerlach makes you, the viewer, physically feel the oppressive weight of the governor's control.
I'm not buying it.
Fast editing gives you the illusion of escape. It gives you the illusion of momentum and hope.
Fast editing gives you a thriller.
Slow editing tells you that no matter how hard you run, no matter how much you struggle, you are not getting anywhere.
Well, they didn't.
That is why they are caught exactly one door from freedom. The slow pacing was a directorial promise from the very first frame of the escape that they were never going to make it.
That is an incredibly, unbelievably generous reading of a 1922 editing room decision.
It's an accurate reading.
I reckon they just didn't have enough coverage.
Coverage? What do you mean coverage?
Coverage is the fundamental building block of film editing, mate.
I know what coverage is, but what does that have to do with it?
It means having enough different camera angles, wide shots, medium shots, close-ups, reverse angles to actually cut a scene together quickly and smoothly.
Oh.
Cameras in 1922 were massive hand-cranked wooden boxes. They were incredibly difficult to move.
They managed just fine in America.
Lighting a new setup took hours. I reckon they simply didn't shoot enough different angles to execute a Griffith-style rapid-fire montage.
You're just making assumptions now.
So they had to use the long, drawn-out master shots they had and drag them out to fill the runtime. The book is interpreting a budgetary or technical limitation as a stroke of avant-garde genius.
Oh, that is such a cynical, joyless take.
It's a realistic take.
The text explicitly says von Gerlach chose the opposite approach.
The text is romanticizing it.
It was a deliberate artistic choice by a German director to visually contrast with the cinematic language being developed by Griffith in America and the Soviets in Russia.
Oh yes, I'm sure he was writing a visual manifesto in his head while staring at his one camera angle.
He was saying their pacing represents freedom and revolution. Our pacing represents the crushing reality of autocracy.
And I am heavily questioning the text's unquestioning adoration of that choice.
Because you hate anything that challenges you.
The book literally calls cinema a magic vehicle. It is primed to see magic everywhere.
What's wrong with seeing magic?
I'm saying that sometimes a slow, drawn-out escape scene is just a bloody, slow, drawn-out escape scene.
It's not.
It doesn't magically become a masterpiece of psychological terror just because we're looking at it through the dusty, revered lens of a history book published in 1981.
Honestly, if a film doesn't have an explosion, a car chase, or a rapid-fire crosscut every 3 seconds, you instantly diagnose it as a failure of pacing.
I diagnose it as boring.
You refuse to engage with the rhythm the film is trying to teach you.
And you are entirely too willing to let a pretentious film guide brainwash you into believing that a character literally dropping dead on the floor from sadness is an astonishingly modern piece of acting.
Okay, we're clearly not going to reach an agreement on the mechanics of this film.
No, we are definitely not.
We are at a complete impasse on Vanina. But let's bring this directly back to you, the listener.
Good luck with that.
Because this entire screaming match we just had actually highlights exactly why this book, Cinema the Magic Vehicle, is so vital to read.
Even if I refuse to admit its brilliance, right?
Even if my co-host refuses to admit its brilliance exactly.
Oh, I am genuinely eager to hear how you managed to spin this argument into a victory.
It's about how you consume media today. Right now.
Okay.
Think about the last thriller you watched at the cinema or on streaming.
Sure.
Think about how heavily it relied on rapid-fire cuts, booming bass drops, shaky cam, and relentless forward momentum to force you to feel tension.
It's effective.
What this exploration of Vanina asks us is this. By demanding that modern adrenaline-fueled rhythm, are we missing out?
Missing out on what? Boredom.
Are we missing out on the suffocating, terrifying dread that comes from a deliberately slowed down, agonizing crawl toward doom?
I don't think anyone misses an agonizing crawl.
Have we as a modern audience completely lost the patience required to experience the psychological torture of hope?
Well, it raises a fair point about our conditioning. I'll grant you that.
Okay.
We are addicted to speed in modern storytelling. But I'll leave you, the listener, with a slightly different provocation to chew on.
Go on then.
We've spent this session talking about the tyrannical governor, the tragedy queens of the 1920s, the suffocating palace labyrinth, and this supposedly revolutionary slow pacing.
Which it is.
My question to you is this. If a director today, let's say Denis Villeneuve or Christopher Nolan,
Incredible directors.
if they tried von Gerlach's slow-motion escape trick in a massive $200 million blockbuster, deliberately dragging out the climax to make a point about autocracy,
Yeah.
would audiences actually feel the crushing weight of tyranny, or would they just get bored to pull out their phones and start scrolling?
That's mental.